All righty. Hello and welcome, everyone. We appreciate you joining. We always give people a few minutes to join late because I know meetings can get a little crazy during the day. So thanks for being patient with us here. My name is Scott Dwyer. I'm a technical specialist here at Microsoft, helping my customers with their adoption journeys with Power Platform. And one of my big things with that is we have started this community, Power Hug, or the Power Platform Healthcare User Group, a community for admins, makers, and users to learn from one another. So one of the big challenges with this platform is it's a change in mindset for organizations. And we want to make sure that we provide as many resources as possible. And we found one of the best things that we can do is provide forums where folks can learn from one another. So we'll be here fourth Thursday of every month. We've been on the third Thursday schedule for the holidays just to give people time at the end of the month because of where Thanksgiving and Christmas fell, but come January, we'll be back to the fourth Thursday. And if you are ever interested in presenting, we would love to have you. No topic is too big or too small. Even if you just have a few minutes to talk about a particularly valuable use case, if you want to talk about governance, air your grievances about user adoption, best practices, anything that you have experience with this platform that you think could be valuable, so that someone else could take that forward and potentially either not make the same mistake or learn from your experiences. You can always reach out to Randall and I via LinkedIn or our email addresses, which we'll flash on here a little bit later. If you're interested in presenting, we'd love to hear from you. A few kind of links on the right there, including the QR code. We are moving our main sort of forum or platform over to LinkedIn. We've been on what's called the Power Platform community platform for a while now, and it just hasn't been a real natural place for us. It's been a little bit limiting as far as functionality, and we haven't seen a ton of collaboration. So we're hoping by moving to LinkedIn, it's just a little bit more in your routine, in the loop for you, and something that would feel a little more natural to look for. We also have previous sessions on YouTube at Power Platform Hug, and we have a survey out there if anybody has any feedback they'd like to give us, aka.ms/powerhugfeedback. With that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Randall to talk about some upcoming events we have for y'all.
All right, so we've got next month another customer from UCI Health coming in to talk about some of the things they're doing with Power Platform, specifically around Power Pages and referrals and linking those into Epic. So we'll walk through that scenario, kind of hear what they're doing, and just some ideas on how you can link Epic in or link data into Epic through Power Platform. We're still planning out February. Some ideas there, bringing in maybe some Microsoft experts to talk about specific topics, or if we identify another customer that wants to talk about a use case they have or bring up specific topics they want to discuss, we'll slate them in for February 27th. We do have an upcoming session with Ask the Experts on January 29th at 12 p.m. Central, where they talk about investing in your future with premium Power Platform. So you'll hear from some MVPs of Microsoft, as well as some of our own Microsoft people, on how you can use Power Platform premium licenses to help generate more value for your organization. And then we also have Power Platform Master Series on January 8th. And this one will be an interesting one, obviously, with Dwayne Robinson. So if you're at all familiar with Dwayne and Copilot Studio, he knows everything about Copilot Studio and where it's going, where it's been, some of the things that you can do with it. You might have heard him at a lot of Ignite sessions, but he's everywhere when it comes to Copilot Studio. He is I think Copilot dude is what he was referred to, right? But again, you can register there at that site, Master Series Power Apps Portals.com/upcoming events. And with that, I think today we're going to jump on over to Seth, who's going to talk about the growth of Power Platform and managing intelligent automation projects at Banner Health. If you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or Q&A. We're going to probably reserve those until the end, and then we will go through them as we can here so we can get Seth through his material and then answer all your questions at the very end. And with that, we're going to record the session. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. You saw a link there that Scott posted. We'll share it again at the end. But all these recordings for this session, as well as past sessions, are all available on the YouTube channel, as well as some of the things we bring in from Ask the Experts and Microsoft in Healthcare, we do share them there as well if they pertain to Power Platform. So with that, Seth, it's all yours. You can run away with it.
All right. Thank you, Randall.
Yeah.
Let me bring up my presentation here. All right. Is that coming through okay?
Looks good.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to give a brief presentation here. It's I'm recycling a presentation that I gave at a conference a couple months ago for this group. So I'll probably tailor it and shorten it down a little bit. And then we're going to jump into one of the use cases that my team has built. So this presentation at the conference that I gave was specifically focused on citizen development. I'm going to talk a little bit about citizen development, but I'm also going to throw in kind of our journey as a Power Platform team and how we've stood up the COE. So first, a quick introduction to myself. My name is Seth Dunn. I'm an IT product owner at Banner Health. Been with Banner for about 9 years. I'm an RN, have my master's in nursing and an MBA. Started at doing nursing at the bedside for about 3 years with Banner. Then was given an opportunity to go join our clinical informatics team. So went and did that for several years. And during my time there in clinical informatics, I discovered Power Automate and just started building automations for various use cases across Banner, and that kind of grew. Eventually, the intelligent automation team at Banner caught wind of what I was doing, and they had been doing a lot of RPA, but they wanted to bring in some Power Platform stuff as well. So they brought me on, and I kind of started the Power Platform COE from there. So don't have an IT background or formal education, but it's obviously always something that's been kind of a hobby of mine, and it's kind of grown to the point where I lead up the Power Platform COE at Banner. So I think that's one of the cool things about Power Platform is it gives people that don't necessarily have that traditional education or traditional IT background the opportunity to get into IT and to bring their perspectives into the solutions that they build. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about citizen development at Banner, how we've established our community and what we do. We're going to go into our training model, how we've organized that and what we have coming in the future for training, talk a little bit about our governance, COE toolkit, and then some of the challenges that we faced. So right now we have a Teams group that's just open to anybody at Banner and to come join, anybody that's interested in Power Platform. Or if you make something, you're automatically added into that Teams group, and that's kind of where we manage our entire community of citizen developers at Banner. We have, it's probably closer to like 850 members now. It's grown a little bit since I made this slide, across 18 different teams at Banner. So we've got people on our insurance division side, we've got HR, we've got finance, kind of all across the spectrum of the different teams that we have at Banner. We've got probably a group inside our citizen development group. Let's see. Yep, created open to everybody. Creators are automatically added. They get a welcome email when they join. And then we are focused specifically on Power Apps and Power Automate. We do a little bit with Power BI, but Power BI is just it's governed differently, and as you all know, it's built so differently than how you build in Power Apps and Power Automate. That we have another team, or we have a data team that kind of does a lot of the Power BI stuff, where we're really strongly focused on Power Apps and Power Automate. So establishing our community and setting up activities, like I said, we have that team site. We've got specific channels for Power Apps and Power Automate. We have a channel that's open only to people that have gone through advanced training and are a little bit more advanced makers. But that team site is there to enable our collaboration across the different groups. We get a lot of questions in that group, and either myself as part of the platform COE or one of my Power Platform developers can go answer those questions, but we also get a lot of just community interaction between the different groups at Banner trying to help each other out. So that team site's been a pretty cool thing to see. We also do show and tell. So found that one of the key things that gets people excited about building stuff in Power Platform is the ability to share it out across Banner and share what they've built. So we have show and tell hours where we'll invite one of our citizen developers that's made some really cool solution to come show that to all of Banner. We have office hours. If one of our citizen developers is struggling to build something, or they just have a question about how to build something, or maybe they're a beginner and just have some basic questions about the platform, they can sign up for an office hours session and drop in and ask us any questions they might have. And then we do a monthly newsletter as well. So just highlights on what's coming up in Power Platform, maybe new stuff, maybe stuff that's been in the Power Platform for a while, but not something that we've utilized in Banner, highlighting some of that, and sending out recordings of our show and tell sessions as well. Our training, we have two kind of training courses that people can go through. There's a basic training, which is open to anybody can join. We've had average attendance of about 150 people on there. It started out really high and then has kind of dropped down as people have gotten past that basic training. And we do it once a month. We alternate between Power Automate and Power Apps. And really it's just a quick 1 hour introduction session to Power Apps and Power Automate. To give them idea of what the two tools are capable of, and we point them to then a lot of resources that they can work and try and learn Power Platform on their own. Once they've gone through that basic training, they'll probably go out, they'll build a few things for themselves, kind of get an idea of if it's something they want to do more with or not. If it is something they want to expand on and make more use of the Power Platform for their team, then we send them into our advanced training, which is smaller sessions of about 30 people. We do have a wait list for that because we've got quite a few people that have signed up for that. And it consists of about 8 to 10 2-hour sessions over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks. So we found that 2 to 3 week time period is good because it's quick enough that people don't forget what they learned in the previous session, but it's also spread out so that they don't have to pause all of their regular work, whatever they have to do for their job for a week to just attend advanced training. They can kind of intertwine that training with their day-to-day jobs. And then we're currently working on an on-demand advanced training. This is going to be a self-paced build of a solution where we'll teach them everything that we think they will need to know, at least to become probably say we call it advanced, but really like a mid-level citizen developer to be able to start building solutions for their team. That's going to be hosted inside Power Apps, and it'll consist of videos and quizzes and hands-on work and some of that type of stuff. And then at the end, once they've finished this advanced training, we haven't gone live with it yet, but once we do, they won't be provisioned their own environments until they attend one of our live sessions where we review their responsibilities. So that goes a little bit into our governance model. We do have dev and prod environments for each department. These environments are assigned after teams have completed their advanced training. And we have specific documentation that they have to keep for each solution. We've got a documentation template. We're still refining that. It's really early in how we early on in the process of requiring documentation. And so what we want included in that is an ongoing journey for us. But we have a little documentation template that they have to fill out for each solution that they want to promote up to production. And that's just there, obviously, so that we can support any solutions if the groups that made the solution for their team, if they end up winning the lottery and leaving Banner, we have this documentation that we can look back on and help support that solution that they built. Our citizen developers are responsible for all the support and upkeep of the solutions that they build. We as the COE team will provide backup. So if they have an issue that comes up and they need help with that, we're here to help them. But ultimately, the responsibility is for them to support that solution. We're not taking a bunch of IT tickets from random teams on random solutions that someone else has built that we don't have any idea on. That's that team's responsibility to maintain those solutions, to support those solutions, and handle any issues that come up. But they can always come to us with questions, and we'll always be the backup for them. And then we do periodically audit the environments as well. So we just go in and make sure that, one, they don't have production solutions being used inside their dev environment, that they have really followed that application lifecycle management by promoting their solutions from dev to prod. And then two, making sure that the solutions that they have in production do have that documentation that we require as well. That's an area where again, we're still learning, and it's difficult for us to go in and audit these very often. I'd like to have a better system for how we make sure that these citizen developers are following the guidelines, but it's something we're working on. And then the default environment is there just for exploration or personal productivity. So we say if you're going to be building anything that's going to affect your team, or especially Banner as a whole, those need to be inside their own specific environments. The COE toolkit. Admittedly, we probably could make better use of the COE toolkit, although it looks like a lot of those functions are getting moved into the admin center. But right now, we're just using it to monitor how many solutions are built with inside each environment. So we can get a clue of, hey, the solution's in dev, but it looks like they're using it as a production solution because it's been shared with a large number of users, or it's a flow that's regularly running, some of that type of stuff. And then we also monitor solutions that are built inside the team's environment. So I should say, we check the default environment for any solutions that look like they could be affecting an entire team or affecting Banner as a whole, and then we can meet with the maker of that solution and say, hey, we need to get this pulled into a dev and prod environment. But then we also monitor our team's environments as well to make sure that they're not running production solutions inside their dev environments. The other thing is we reach out to prolific makers who are not active members of the community. So everybody automatically gets added into our team site, but that doesn't mean that they're going to participate in everything. So we check and see, we've got somebody that maybe has built 10 apps or a dozen flows or something like that, and we don't, we're not familiar with them. We don't see their name popping up on the Teams channel. We might reach out to that person, schedule a session with them individually, and just make sure that they have what they need. We don't require them to participate on that Teams channel, but make sure that they have what they need, that they know it's available. And then, also encourage them that we have these show and tell sessions and we have these things available to them if they want to share some of their experience with the Power Platform outside of their team. We, of course, have a number of challenges that we've faced throughout this, time being the biggest one. There's only 3 of us that make up the Power Platform COE. Banner has about 60,000 employees. So time is a big challenge, and we not only support the citizen developers, but we also build our own solutions. So if a team comes to us and they have a large solution that needs built and they don't have the technical expertise to handle it, or maybe it's something that's going to be business critical, or we have a number of different criteria, then we build the solution and support that solution. So balancing our development along with the community tasks has become a bit of a challenge, and especially as we're bringing more tools in, we're starting to use Power Automate Desktop for RPA. We're using AI Builder more. We're getting more and more use cases come to us for us to build, and that's left less time for the community tasks that we have. So licensing is another one. For a long time, we didn't have any premium licensing, so we were making do with Canvas apps and SharePoint as a data source. That continues to be the case for a lot of our solutions. We pull in, we now have the ability to pull in Dataverse when we need to, but most of our solutions are built with SharePoint as the data source. We have some licensing now that we can give out when the use case calls for it. But it's been a challenge, and we continue to face, with bringing some of these other tools in like RPA and AI Builder, the licensing model is, as you all know, quite complicated, and getting the licensing that we need has been a bit of a challenge for us. Maintaining documentation of citizen developed solutions. That is something that the citizen developers are actually pretty good about creating the documentation when they first deploy the solution, but they're not so great about updating that documentation. So, they might have a big update to their solution that they built, but they don't go update the documentation. So keeping an eye on that and trying to make sure that every solution has updated documentation has been a little bit difficult for us. And then issues when citizen developers don't follow best practice. So this is something we're still trying to figure out the guidelines on, but if we have someone that builds a large solution, say in the default environment, and they're not following our guidelines regarding documentation or environment protocols, I don't think we've had any instances where we've had to just disable that solution, but I could see it coming up, and trying to figure out how do we balance being too harsh, saying, well, we're just gonna disable the solution, or too lenient, saying that you can do anything you want inside there has been a bit difficult for us. And I think it's a fine line to walk, because we don't want to discourage people from building, but we also don't want them to go out and do anything that would be too risky. All right, so that was kind of quick rundown of how we handle citizen development at Banner. Let me just, before I jump into our use case, talk a little bit about us as the COE. So I'm part of the intelligent automation team. So we don't just do Power Platform, we also do RPA. We have a different RPA tool that we utilize. We're moving more into Power Automate Desktop, but we've used a couple different RPA tools. We also do intelligent document processing. So we've got some other vendors that provide us with some document solutions. Again, we're starting to move some of that into Power Platform through the use of AI Builder, but we support that as well. So we kind of have two pillars inside of our intelligent automation team. We have the Power Platform, and then we have this other group that handles RPA and document processing. And we're slowly bringing those two together. But that's kind of our structure right now. Most of our time right now, especially at the end of the year, has been focused on doing development and support ourselves. So we're really responsible for three things on the Power Platform side. We're responsible for developing solutions where, again, teams might not have the technical expertise or the resources to build what they need. We're responsible for innovation, so bringing in some of, as new features are released to the Power Platform, things like AI Builder. We're responsible for vetting those and figuring out what's the licensing model behind those, how can we bring those into some of our solutions. And then we're responsible for support as well for any solutions that we build. And then the last thing is obviously the community tasks, which I just went over. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we manage our projects as part of the COE. When I came to the team, they'd just been doing RPA. We hadn't brought in intelligent document processing or Power Platform yet. They had been using Azure DevOps to manage their projects. And it kind of worked okay, but it wasn't a real good fit for our workflow as a team. So we moved on to, I'm trying to remember back. I think we ended up using like 4 different systems over the course of about 3 years to manage our projects, and none of them were a great fit. They all kind of worked. Some solutions would do one thing really well, others not so great, but we weren't really happy with any of them. And we purchased one, I guess it's been about 1.5 years ago, or probably about 2 years ago. We had purchased one solution that we thought was going to be a really great fit. We got in there, we started using it for about 6 months. We were giving it our best effort, really trying to get it to work for us. And I just kept hearing from different members of the team how difficult it was to use that solution. And eventually we got to the point where I was like, you know what? We can just build our own project management inside of Power Apps. So that's what we did. And that's what I'm going to share with you as a use case. Give me a second to pull that up here. All right. So this is our Power App that we built to handle our project management. We called it IA Insight. It is a Canvas app. I started this project off actually with SharePoint as a data source because I wasn't sure we were actually going to start using it. And then we decided, yep, this is actually a product we want to use. So then we moved it into Dataverse. But what we get here is, I'll just walk you through the solution. What we get on the home screen is specialized to the person that's logged into the app. So we can see I have my open projects, my projects that have an update due, and any tasks that are assigned to me here on the right-hand side. And then across the top, we just kind of get these quick stats as a review of kind of our department's project health overall. So this is a pretty quick and easy place for me to hop in and see what do I need to do today? What are the projects that I need to address? The meat of the app really comes in our project screen. And let's just pick one. Doesn't matter which project here. But this is our project screen. So we have a list of projects over here on the left. You can obviously search and sort and filter them. We can add a project. Just hit this plus button, you put the project information in. One of the key things we really wanted was some calculators to determine what is the ROI of this project, what's the complexity of this project, so that we can use those in our governance process to say, yeah, this is a worthwhile project. Let's move forward with this project and put some effort into it, or no, not so much. So we built in our own ROI calculations, which take into account the amount of time it's going to take us to develop, how much of a license it's going to utilize, what the FTE cost is. So we're calculating some time savings here, and then how frequently it's going to run. And then I'll just put some numbers in here so we can get an idea. It runs 100 times a month, and maybe it saves 10 minutes every time. So this is kind of focused on like an automation, not so much an app. But for automations, it gives us, payback period is 2.5 months. The ongoing cost is going to be $12.50. It's only using 5% of a license, so it's not costing us very much. and it's telling us, what's our monthly dollar savings, some of that sort of stuff. So this was something we had been doing by hand, kind of in Excel spreadsheets, and we said, let's bring this into our project management, so we can use it as part of governance, and then we have it in a single place to go look back on if we ever get audited in the future. Kind of the same thing with complexity. We've got a list of questions. A lot of these questions, this complexity calculator was built when we were just doing RPA. So a lot of these questions are related to an RPA process. But once you answer all of them, you get both a developer complexity score and a consultant complexity score. So the way we work is, especially for the RPA projects and some of the more technical projects, is we have both consultants and developers. The consultant is responsible for meeting with the business and gathering all the requirements for the solution that we need to build, and then they will hand that off to a developer to go build. What we found is that sometimes these differ. You would think that the complexity score would be the complexity score, but what we found, and sometimes you can have a solution that's really easy to develop, but it's really complex for the consultant because they might be interacting with many different teams, and vice versa. Maybe it's something that's really complex for the developer, but super easy for the consultant. From a business process flow standpoint, maybe it's a really easy project to understand, but it's a really hard thing to build. So we split these out into two separate scores. And again, we just utilize these scores as part of our governance. After we finish adding a project, it goes through our governance team and we decide, yeah, this is a project we want to move forward with, or no, it isn't, utilizing these ROI and complexity scores. And then we also pull in like applications, for example. So maybe I'm building a process that uses HomeCare Homebase and DocuWare and Fortis. There's different applications that we have inside of Banner. I can select these applications, add them to my project, and then if we ever have an update to one of those applications, I can always come back to Insight here and see, okay, we have an update coming to HomeCare Homebase. What projects do we have that touch HomeCare Homebase? And be able to pull that report pretty quickly. Once we've created a project, it comes into our project list here, and this is where we enter all of our notes and tasks and things like that. So we have a brief description of the project. We review any process notes, and I'm sorry, give me just a second. I gotta get the door real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So we have specific fields for our team as well. So one of the things is sometimes we get projects that come to us that aren't necessarily going to return a huge ROI, but they're going to, maybe it's a regulatory requirement or it's going to meet a compliance requirement. So we can put that into our other benefits. We have all the high-level project details here, but then we can jump to this update screen and we can see what's going on with this project, what's happened most recently. So from a leadership standpoint, this really helps to be able to just come in quick, at a glance, see what's the latest information on this project, and are there any blockers that I need to be helping the team that's working on this project be able to move forward. And then we have tasks, and we actually automatically assign tasks as the project moves through its different stages, but we can add individual tasks and assign those out to people. When we create a task, it sends them a Teams card to go notify them that they have a task, but they can actually update directly in that Teams card and say, okay, I've completed this task. We keep links, so we have a documentation link for items in SharePoint. We use ServiceNow for a lot of our RITMs, so we have a link out to ServiceNow. Same with change requests. Occasionally, we will build a Lucid chart or create a planner for a specific project, depending on how complicated they are. So any links for any of these items related to this project come up in this links tab. And then relationships, sometimes a project might be a child project or a parent project, and we can identify those here. And then we have the technologies and applications, which I kind of already talked about on the previous screen. One thing that we really like about this solution is we were able to set it up to be able to move projects between different stages that we had customized. So we start out, if I just hit this status drop down here, you can see what our different stages are. We started in intake, and then it would actually jump to IA governance. And then it goes to our governance team. The consultant presents the project to our governance team. We decide if it's something we're going to move forward with. And then obviously we go into a backlog, and then we go to an analysis phase. So once the consultant has time to dig into that project and really define all the specific requirements for that project, it jumps into analysis, and then approvals, and then development backlog, and so on and so forth, all the way until we get to the project is complete. Being able to define those stages has helped us out a lot, and being able to assign tasks automatically as it moves through the stage. So you can see this project here is currently in an analysis state. We're waiting for some requests to be completed and to get some data. Once that's done, I can move it on to approvals just with this one button up here. And moving it to approvals will create the tasks that are needed to be completed in that approval stage. And it populates back to that home page where we see kind of our overall department health. The other thing is we've incorporated quite a few Power Automate flows into this app. So we have documentation that has to be signed off by the business team. I'm not sure, this is for it's for our care coordination team. So when we're ready, when we get into the approval stage, we'll be able to send a sign off to the care coordination team to approve the requirements that we've built for this project. And then at the end, when we're ready to deploy, we have another sign off that gets sent saying that they've completed UAT, that the project is doing what it needs to do, that they understand they have to have a downtime plan. Some of that type of stuff happens automatically by clicking the send sign off button. Let's see, anything else that I want to show here? We do have some cool custom reports that we've built. I should jump to the dashboard and show you this real quick. This is a list of all of our projects that we've built inside a Banner. You can see it's just a Power BI report. But we've deployed 174 different solutions across all of Banner. And you can see overall, we've touched almost 210 million records, and we've saved Banner about 4.5 million hours of labor. This is across Power Platform, RPA, Intelligent Document Processing, all of those tools. This is everything that the Intelligent Automation team has done, but we report that out for leadership. And then we have some custom reports here that we've created. Let me see, I want to say this one. Yeah, nope. Let me jump to a different one. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've been in here. Yeah, this project chart just kind of gives us an overview of each project. I can filter it down by a specific person, but where we're at in each stage here gives us some dates on when we entered certain stages and when it exited certain stages and things like that. So we've been able to build some custom reports based off of the data inside Power Apps as well. And then our settings page just lets us manage things like what applications are available to be selected, what departments are available to be selected. Some of our RPA bots run on virtual machines, so we can add those virtual machines in here, all that good stuff. This has been really a pretty big game changer for us as a department. We've been able to get our projects from ingestion to deployment quite a bit faster and have a lot better visibility into where each of our projects are, what the blockers are for some of our projects, things like that. It's also much easier for our consultants and for our developers to get in here and work. One thing that we found with some of the other solutions is because it didn't exactly fit our workflow and our process, it could be kind of difficult for our consultants and our developers to get in there and make updates. And when it's difficult to do that, they tend to just not do it, right? So having a system where it's really easy to get in and make your updates has greatly enhanced the visibility of where the status of a certain project. And that's one of the things that I love about Power Platform is that customizability. When I'm talking to different teams across Banner about why they might want to use Power Platform, kind of my go-to line is, we could have 1,000 IT developers and still probably never be able to develop every IT solution that Banner needs. And even if we did, we would never understand those solutions as well as the people working in them day in and day out. So Power Platform gives those people the ability to build their own solutions, which means they're going to build better solutions than what someone coming from IT who doesn't understand their process would build. And they're going to, they're not reliant on other teams to go out and build their own solutions, but they get customized to that specific team and their specific process. And that can be huge. There might be an off-the-shelf product that you can bring in, but there's a good chance that you're either going to be customizing your workflow to fit that off-the-shelf product, or you're going to have to be paying the vendor to update their off-the-shelf product to fit your process. And you could have just built something in Power Platform that would, from the get-go, be customized to you and ultimately have saved you time and money. That's what I've got for my presentation today. So I will now open it up for questions.
Great. I got a question there for you, Seth. In terms of, I guess, the nurturing side of the house, how are the show and tell sessions going? Are people jumping forward with that, or how do you send out requests on those monthly sessions?
Yeah, it's a mix. Sometimes we go through periods where we have 5, 6 people that want to come show their solution, and then we'll hit a bit of a dry spell, and it'll be maybe 2 or 3 months where we'll have to be pulling from we'll have to be going out there looking for solutions and finding people that want to come present. And occasionally we've had to present some of the solutions that we've built just because there wasn't anything out there at that time for a citizen developer. So it's hit or miss. People do really like to attend them. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, and we've even found that our citizen developers will build something and they'll have an idea or a technique for doing something that we end up using as part of the COE. So it's been great as far as the sessions. As far as finding people, hit or miss.
Yeah. As far as your documentation goes, do you make it a requirement for documentation before you actually allow publishing? Or I saw you had a field for sharing the location, so I suspect you're either sharing in a SharePoint or some other shared location for people to access. But do you require that before it gets approved and actually published to other users?
So not yet. I think we're going to head down that direction, but right now it's more honor system, and we go back and audit occasionally. But it's a request that we have, and if we find something that doesn't have documentation, then we'll go address it with that team. It hasn't happened too frequently. I think we will eventually get to the point where we're requiring that documentation to be in place before they can move it up to production.
And speaking of documentation, any playing around with Planner in Power Apps that was announced at Ignite or shown at Ignite as well?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, our documentation template right now is just it's a pretty simple Word document that we asked them to go fill out. So that's the other thing. I think we might move that into, like I said, into Power Apps or something like that, where we can control what elements are required a little bit better than we can with just the Word template.
Great.
That's definitely an area
AI
of growth
more
for us.
broadly? Oh, sorry. What about AI more broadly? Have you guys played with Copilot Studio or any of the kind of image to app, Excel to app, things like that?
Yeah, so we've started to use AI in some document processing and a couple other things, but it's mostly the custom prompts, creating text with GPT.
Okay.
I've tried out some of the it's been a while, so I'm sure it's been updated and improved, but I've tried out some of the create an app from Excel or from a Dataverse table, and it's okay. I found that for me, I'm fairly experienced with a Canvas app, so it's a little bit faster for me to do a Canvas app and get to the end result rather than trying to start from an app that was built by AI and then customizing that. It's improving. It's something we're excited about. We're really excited about some of the AI features on the Power Automate Desktop RPA that's coming up. So it's an area of growth.
I can relate. Old habits die hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a question in here from Mark Smith. Where do you store Power Platform documentation such as environment owners? Some people like OneNote, SharePoint, etc. Curious what you all settled on.
Yeah, we're on SharePoint right now. We're actually in the process of creating another app that's specifically for environment management. And so eventually all the documentation is going to move into that app and the data will be stored in Dataverse. But right now it's in SharePoint.
Okay. Question on your app where you have your ROI calculations as well as the complexity calculation. Is there a dependency between the two? In other words, does the complexity impact your ROI calcs at all or influence it at all?
Only in the sense that it would increase our dev consultant days, which is admittedly an estimate, right? We don't know that it's going to take 5 days for us to build this project, but we have a good idea. So if it's a higher complexity, that's going to drive our consultant days or dev days higher, which would, if I increase this, the payback period now becomes 5 months instead of 2.5. But it doesn't, this complexity score is not part of this ROI calculator.
Okay. All right. We have another question in the chat. Do you allow development in the default environment? And do you use personal development environments yet?
And we're not using personal development environments yet. We do allow development in the default environment. There is a pretty strict DLP policy in place on that environment. And then we also, we audit that environment and what's built in there for any apps that have been shared widely or any cloud flows that are running really frequently, things like that, things that we think should be pulled out of that default environment and put into their own environments.
All right. Scott, you have any more questions?
That's all I had.
All right. You want to, I guess, thank you, Seth, for a great job. Love seeing the application. Love hearing about Banner Health's journey. Scott, you want to wrap us up here with your final slide?
Yes, I do. So I'll reiterate that. Thank you, Seth. That app you built was really cool to see. I still get excited by some of the more complex things people do with the platform. So that's pretty slick.
I should say real quick. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say it's obviously not the prettiest UI, and I think we're looking to possibly bring on a designer to the team this coming year to help out. We can build the functionality, but we can't necessarily make it look pretty. So I think that's one area that we're excited about it growing next year, is making our apps a little bit prettier and bringing a designer in to help with some of that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
You sound like me on my demos. Yeah, I'm a little bit more about feature function. The making it look good is still elusive, but it can be done. So yeah, really appreciate your time today, and thanks for those that are attending and have joined us in the past. Hopefully we'll see you next month, January 23rd. We've got some really cool epic integration story there, which is always, I know, a critical challenge across software development, right? That's not unique to Power Platform. Like Randall said, we're looking for somebody for February, so we'd love for you to get in touch with us on LinkedIn or through the group if you are interested in presenting, and make sure you look for some of those older sessions with other customers on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, please join our LinkedIn group, where we'll be posting future sessions and encouraging kind of any and all conversation, right? So again, the idea here is that we can all sort of learn from one another. It's specifically inside of an industry that is a pretty unique challenge for software developers. So thank you again, Seth. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I hope you all have the happiest of holidays, and we'll see you in January, hopefully.
All right.
Thanks, you all. Appreciate the opportunity to present.
Thanks, Seth.